Elon broke up with his wife after this incident. You won't believe what she did. Elon Musk had never been the type to succumb to jealousy or suspicion. His life, built on rockets, cars, and groundbreaking technology, was far too busy to indulge in anything so petty. But lately, something had been gnawing at him, making him uneasy. It started slowly, like a whisper, but over time it grew into an undeniable feeling, a feeling that something wasn't right. His wife, Lara, had always been a part of his world, a constant in the whirlwind of his life. They had been married for years, and despite his hectic schedule, he thought they had an understanding, a bond. But lately, something had shifted. Lara's behavior had started to change. At first, it was small things, her frequent trips out of the house without explanation, a quick glance at her phone when she thought he wasn't looking, and a sudden change in her schedule that didn't quite make sense. Elon prided himself on being a good judge of character, and the more he observed, the more the doubts began to mount. It was the driver that caught his attention. Greg. A quiet, unassuming man who had worked for the Musk family for years. Greg had always been reliable, professional, and for the most part, a background figure in Elon's life. But over the past few months, Greg seemed to be getting closer to Lara, accompanying her on more frequent trips and, curiously, spending more time with her alone. At first, Elon told himself it was nothing. Lara and Greg were simply spending more time together because of logistics. Her busy schedule, his work driving her around, all just part of the everyday grind. But as time went on, the coincidences piled up. There were times when Lara would ask Greg to take her to places Elon knew she didn't need to go, just so they could be alone together. They'd talk and laugh in ways that felt too familiar. Too intimate. Elon tried to shake off the feeling, dismissing it as paranoia. After all, in his world, suspicions like these had a tendency to be blown out of proportion. But the more he thought about it, the more it ate at him. His gut told him that something was happening, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. He trusted his gut. Too many times it had steered him right in the past. One evening, after a long day at work, Elon decided to do something he never thought he would. He decided to follow them. He had always been a private person, but this was different. His world was on the edge of falling apart, and he needed answers. So, he did what any reasonable person in his shoes might do. He donned a disguise. It wasn't a complex transformation. A baseball cap, a hoodie, and some dark sunglasses, enough to keep people from recognizing him, but nothing that would draw attention. He told himself it was for peace of mind, that if he just saw them together, he'd be able to quell his doubts once and for all. He could confront Lara, have a calm conversation, and move on with his life. That was the hope, anyway. As he watched them leave the house, it didn't take long for Elon to slip into the shadows. His heart was pounding in his chest, but he ignored it. He had a job to do, and he was going to do it well. He stayed a few blocks behind, careful not to get too close, trying to blend in with the sparse traffic of the evening. He observed them from a distance, watching as Lara slid into the passenger seat of Greg's car with a smile that seemed too wide, too easy. The kind of smile that said they shared something that wasn't simply a driver-client relationship. The car moved through the city streets, heading in the direction of the quiet, more secluded areas on the outskirts of town. Elon's thoughts raced as he followed them. His mind replayed all the small moments he had ignored, the nagging feeling that had been creeping up on him for weeks. He couldn't shake the thought that something wasn't right. He followed them for what seemed like an eternity, navigating through the city, and then out into the open roads. The lights from the street lamps blurred into a wash of yellow and orange as they drove further away from the heart of the city, into the more quiet, less populated areas. Elon's anxiety grew with each mile. He tried to stay calm, tried to rationalize his actions, but the longer he followed them, the more the doubts took root. What if they were just taking a different route? What if it was a simple mistake? But deep down, he knew this was more than just an innocent detour. And then it happened. Greg's car pulled into a dimly lit parking lot at the edge of a quiet street, far removed from the busy city. The area was surrounded by trees, and the only sign of life was the occasional car passing by on the streets several blocks away. It was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. Quiet. Peaceful. Perfect for someone trying to hide from the world. Elon's pulse quickened as he parked a few spaces down, just out of view of the car. He could see Lara and Greg through the windshield, talking, their figures silhouetted against the soft glow of the parking lot lights. Elon's heart pounded in his chest, his hands gripping the wheel tightly as he tried to steady his breath. He told himself it was nothing. Maybe they're just having a conversation. But then it happened. Greg leaned over, his hand reaching for Lara's hair. Elon's eyes widened as Greg gently pulled her toward him, their faces inches apart. He could see Lara's eyes flutter, her lips parting as Greg kissed her. A slow, deliberate kiss. One that spoke volumes of the intimacy they shared, an intimacy that was far beyond a professional relationship. Elon's blood ran cold. It was a moment that shattered him. He had seen enough. His suspicions were confirmed, and the reality hit him like a freight train. His wife, the woman he had trusted, the woman he had loved, was in the arms of another man. His stomach twisted with a sickening mixture of disbelief and hurt. For a moment, Elon couldn't move. His entire body felt frozen. The betrayal was so raw, so sudden, that it took him a few seconds to regain his senses. He couldn't breathe. How long had this been going on? He had no answers, only the cold, ugly truth that this wasn't just an affair. It was a betrayal of the worst kind. As he sat there in the car, watching them through the windshield, the world seemed to fall apart around him. His thoughts were a whirlwind, a cacophony of anger, confusion, and heartbreak. How could she do this? How could Lara, his wife, betray him like this? What had gone wrong? The minutes stretched into what felt like hours, and Elon remained frozen, his eyes never leaving the car where Lara and Greg shared their stolen moments. He was angry. Furious, even. But more than that, he was devastated. Every moment they had shared, every word, every touch, felt like a lie now. He could no longer deny it. His marriage was over. He had tried to convince himself that it was all in his head, that there was some logical explanation. But this was undeniable. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, but one stood out above the rest. I can't trust her anymore. Eventually, Greg pulled away from Lara, and they both got out of the car. Lara glanced around quickly before slipping her arm through Greg's, and together, they walked toward a darkened building at the end of the parking lot. Elon watched them, his heart sinking into his stomach as he realized just how deep the betrayal ran. It was over. With a heavy heart, Elon slowly drove back home, each mile dragging him further away from the painful truth. When he arrived, he sat in his car for a moment, staring at the house. His home. A place that now felt empty. The house that once felt like a sanctuary now felt like a cage, one that trapped him in his own thoughts. Lara returned home late that night. The sound of the front door opening, her footsteps echoing through the hall, brought Elon's focus back to the present. He didn't need to ask where she had been. He already knew. She entered the living room, eyes wide, seemingly startled when she saw him sitting on the couch, waiting. For a moment, there was silence between them. Lara's eyes flickered, but she quickly masked her surprise with a smile, trying to act casual. "Hey, Elon. What are you doing up so late?" she asked, her tone too light, too rehearsed. Elon didn't answer immediately. He was calm, too calm. He had spent the last few hours sorting through his emotions, trying to prepare himself for the confrontation. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, steady, and laced with something deeper than anger. "Where were you tonight, Lara?" Lara faltered, a flicker of guilt passing through her eyes before she quickly composed herself. "I was out with Greg. We had some work to do. You know how it is." Elon leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers, cutting through the flimsy excuse like a blade. "You were more than just out with Greg, Lara. I saw you. I saw everything." Her face paled. Her smile faltered, and for the first time in months, Elon saw fear in her eyes. The truth was out, and there was no escaping it. You don't understand, she began, her voice rising. It's not what you think. Elon shook his head slowly. No, I get it. I saw it all. I saw you kiss him, Lara. You betrayed me. The tears came then, tears of frustration, of anger, and of lies. Lara's composure crumbled, and she lashed out, her voice shrill and hysterical. You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm my own person. Elon, she stammered, but he interrupted her. No, Lara. I'm done. His words were final, and the weight of them hung in the air like a storm ready to break. The woman he had trusted with his heart was no longer the woman standing in front of him. The woman he once loved was a stranger now, one who had betrayed him in the most intimate of ways. And just like that, their marriage came to a crushing halt.